Well, last week when I finally got this engagement gear mechanism to work, where it kicks in and out, engages, disengages, I thought it was pretty cool, and a lot of you did as well. But this is only half of the picture. We have the same thing, only a little different, to put together on the right side. So when the power is engaged on the left side to this whole beater assembly here, it engages these gears as well, and there's a pitman that goes back to an apparatus, and eventually all that comes down to this gear, and this gear controls the speed of how this live bottom or apron travels. Well, I got that all disassembled, sandblasted, and painted last week. And it's a bit of a puzzle because the whole back of this beater assembly was broken off because the mainframe was broken. But it had a couple of pieces of this plate on the sides. It's not going to go back on, but it gives me indication perhaps of where some of this puzzle starts. So there's an imprint here, and this is where this casting was bolted to. You can see the outline where that's set, just about like so. Well, I'm assuming this was probably cut quasi-square, I don't know. But it's kind of odd that this doesn't set square as well. But it was a patch, you know. But there's another imprint down here. And this outline here corresponds with a heavy casting that goes across to the left side that carries that engagement wheel. So this should give us some point of reference of how this was all placed, and then maybe I can figure out where this casting goes and try to unravel this puzzle. So this is the main casting for the rear axle. This casting here goes to the rod that goes across to that engagement gear on the left side. And this imprint here is the same imprint that is on this piece of tin that was used as a patch. So my guess is it's set right about so. So I'm going to try to use this placement as a location for the first hole for this casting that sits here. Use that hole right there as my starting point. So it's going to look like I really am smart and got this figured out. But little do you know how many times I had to go back and look at the video and the old pictures to actually see how this went together. So don't let appearances fool you. One thing I did notice, there's two of these pawls. One is longer than the other, and the long one goes on top. Good thing I checked, because they go like this. And their pins are basically a 3/8 round head rivet with a cotter pin. And I think the cotter pin is on the inside. There was a washer on both sides. And the short one was underneath. Forget my washer. And these cotter pins are much easier to adjust if I took this whole assembly off. So this is able to rotate on this pivot point, and that's going to create this action, which will help these pawls move this gear. So I do remember that this slides inside this whole mechanism. Remember, it was really frozen, but now it slides real free. So I do remember that this goes there. So this is where the pitman goes back to the gear that's run off of the rear beater. So this triangulated piece that was all bent and twisted, there's a long end and a short end. This long end was bolted through this bolt on the end of this strap here. So that goes there. Well, I did get the front of this right side rod pinned into this lever, and if there is a poor design anywhere on this manure spreader, that is it. I tried to put a regular cotter pin in there and it just wouldn't fit into that hole. The end of that rod butts up against this spring, so it doesn't go in really quite far enough. So I put a key pin in there and put it past where it's supposed to be, but at least it's in there and it should work. Well, you can see where I had to put it clear down into the eye of that key, because as this handle straightens up, the head of that key is right up against this casting. So not the best design, but I think that'll work. And the other end of this rod goes through the short end of this flat strap that's at a 90-degree triangle. It gets pinned there. And then the last part of the puzzle is this casting here, and that's hinged and pinned right in the corner of this triangle. So then the question is, it gets bolted to the side frame, but exactly where? You can see this is the top of the framework right at this seam here, my sideboard and my main frame. And so if I look at the picture of Jeff Marshall's, it looks like these holes are fairly close to the top of this frame. I'm guessing kind of maybe that position. But remember, there's rollers on the inside of this, so I have to make sure I'm not going to run into some of those rollers and the leg bolts that keep those bolted in place. So this is the main reason I left these two slats off, because I knew I'd have to get into this bracket somewhere. So these rollers are 2.5 inches across, and center to center on the holes of that bracket, they're 3 inches. So they're going to be just barely missing these. I may actually have to remove this one roller, as I think it's going to sit right in this position. I'm going to remove this one roller. Give me a little more room to work with. Yeah, maybe I can transfer that across. Right there, so I need to move this over just a bit. So right now, my handle is in extreme back position. And the upper arm of this triangle is also in the back position. So there's a stick that goes across these 2 points that's called the pitman. And I just took a piece of scrap. These are 1-inch rods on the end, just to kind of see how this fits up. This pitman isn't finished size yet. I'm just kind of playing. Well, see if it'll operate. That's fully forward. That's all the way back. So as I rotate this back beater, we should see this work. The bottom of this bar that slides up and down is hitting my axle. So my pitman is too short. This pin has probably got another inch to go before it passes center. I've got these holes at 18 inches. Looks like I need to be closer to 19. There wasn't a complete pitman left on this anyway, so I was just kind of guessing. So I make this an inch longer. It will push this top back and give us more clearance on the bottom. So it's a good thing I'm using scraps, huh? Till I get this figured out. Yeah, that helps it here. That made it clearer. When I was cleaning this up, I noticed the corner of this channel iron was kind of hammered on this little spot. Now I see exactly why. But now I'm a 1/4 inch away before it wants to hit. So it's not going to hit. So I've noticed these pawls are really loose. They could easily just fall off, but they've thought of that as well. There's this little guard that's supposed to go on here, and it has these 2 legs that's supposed to straddle these pawls, and it'll keep them in place. I may have to pull the pitman off to get this in here. Looks like it will. This goes right in this area here. So it's going to be bolted through here, and looks like a big heavy screw here, maybe a number 12. And these 2 legs here will keep these pawls in place. Looks like they thought about it all. A little difficult to get to. If you notice when I was putting this guard on for the pawls, you'd probably notice that I put a flat washer in behind where this screw went. And also down below on this frame that holds the pivot point, I also put a flat washer in behind that. And that is because this board here, I made it 7/8 of an inch. And I now realize that it needs to be 1 inch. So I have made a new replacement for that is a full 1 inch thick. I just have to get that painted. And then I have another stick here that I'll turn into a full-size pitman, do some shaping on it, drill my holes, and I'll get that painted as well. Well, I think I'm done needing access to inside this framework. So I'm going to put these last two slats on while those other two pieces that I just painted red are drying. So across from these rear vertical braces, there's a couple of crossbars. Remember, I have 3 rollers on those. And they're going to pick up the bottom of this apron and help it return back to the front. Well, I haven't put those on purpose because I still need to get access to putting these last bolts in, those last 2 slats. So when this handle is in the back position and this slide is as low as it can go, when this rear beater is rotating, then these pawls will move 4 teeth at a time. Then when I move this to the forward position, It raises that slide to the highest position. Then these pawls will only move one tooth at a time. And all that is what governs how fast this apron feeds the manure into the beater. Pretty cool, huh? Appreciate you coming along. Thanks for watching.